Hello everybody and welcome back to Learning at Home with Mrs. V. Alright, so before Christmas break we were talking about least common denominators, also known as least common multiples. Alright, so what you need to do in order to compare fractions, you have to have the denominator be the same. Alright, we talked about things other people you have in common with other people. For instance, you might have brown eyes and your best friend might have brown eyes. That's something that you have in common. If I had the same color sweater as somebody else, we would have that in common. So the fractions have to have that too. They have to have their denominators in common in order for them to be able to be compared. So when we look at these fractions, we have 2/5 and 3/7. And so our denominator, remember number down below, the number of parts in the whole. So in 2/5, the 5 is the denominator, and 3/7, 7 is the denominator. So we can see that the denominators are not the same. So in order for us to compare them and tell greater than, less than, or equal to, we have to find a common denominator. So in order to do that, we'll write the multiples, or the multiples for the denominators. So we have to write this denominator out to the sides. I'm going to write my 5. And then I'm just going to do a count by, or counting by fives, just like you did when you were in 3rd grade when you were first learning to multiply. So I'm going to go ahead and write 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and I'm going to stop there. All right, glad I'm going to stop right out of the board. All right, so now we have the multiples of 5. Now we have to do the same thing with the other denominator, the multiples of 7. Now, when we were counting by fives, we did not come to 7. That doesn't make any sense anyway, because in a multiple of 5, we have a 0 or a 5 in the ones. Well, this is a 7, so it doesn't apply. All right, so we're going to go ahead and write the multiples of 7. So we've got 7, 14, 3 sevens is 21, 4 sevens is 28, nothing in common so far. 5 sevens is 35. Aha, I have a 5 in the ones, so I know it's going to be found here also, and it is. So we've found the common multiple. Now we can use that to get the common denominator. Boy, I'm tongue-tied today. Okay, so now I have to look and see how many times did I count by fives in order to get 35. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 times. So what I do to the denominator, I have to do to my numerator. So I have to multiply this times 7 also. So then I'm going to rewrite this so as, let's see, I've got 2/5. I'm going to rewrite this as an equivalent fraction. Remember, equivalent fractions, we multiply numerator and denominator times something in order to get another fraction that was equal to that original fraction. So I've got 2/5 times 7 times 7, so that would be 35. And then here I've got 14. So I've got 14 35ths, and 14 35ths is equivalent to 2/5. So I'm going to go ahead and then I'm going to look at my 3/7. 3/7. So what did I do to the 7 to get that 35? So I need to see here how many times I counted by sevens in order to get 35. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So times 5 times 5. So I'm going to rewrite 3/7. I'm going to rewrite it as an equivalent fraction, multiplying the times 5 by the numerator and the denominator. And if you notice here, 5/5, that's equal to 1. All right, so 3 times 5, that's 15. 7 times 5, that's 35. So now I've got 14 35ths and 15 35ths. Well, it's easy to see they're not equivalent. We can say 14 35ths is smaller than or less than 15 35ths. So when I draw my Pac-Man, it's going to be pointed this direction because it always wants to eat the biggest number. All right, so 15/35 would be the bigger fraction, but when I read this, I don't say 15/35 is greater than 14/35. That's not the way it's written. It's written 14/35 is less than 15/35. All right, so hopefully you're remembering this process. All right, so now I've got 1/6 compared to 3/15. Well, once again, I'm looking at my denominators, and I can tell the number of parts in the whole are not the same. So I've got 6ths and I've got 15ths. So now I have to find the common multiple in order to create fractions that can be compared. So I'm going to take my 6, I'm going to take my 15. All right, so now I'm going to count by 6's. So I've got 6, 12, 18, that's 3 6's, 4 6's is 24, 5 6's is 30, 6 6's is 36. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to do the same thing with my 15. So multiples of 15, I start with 15, 2 15s is 30, aha, da 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 da, already got it. There is my common multiple. That was pretty quick. 30 is my common multiple. So now I'm going to rewrite 1/6 down here and 3, I might scoot this over a little bit, 3/15. All right, so what did I do to the 6? How many times did I count by 6's to get to 30? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. So what I do to the denominator, I do to the numerator. So now I'm creating an equivalent fraction so that these two can be compared. So I've got 6 times 5 is 30. 5 times 1 is 5. All right, got that one. Now I have to tell how many times I counted by 15 to get 30. That would be 2. So times 2, that gave me my 30ths. And what I do to my denominator, I have to do to my numerator. 3 times 2 is 6. And look at that, when we compare these, 5/30ths compared to 6/30ths. So 5/30ths is less than 6/30ths. All right, now, I also want to go back to my original fractions. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to erase this up here. So when I'm looking at this, I can see here's my original fraction, 2/5, and here's my original fraction, 3/7. So my sign that I put in between was less than. So I know that this is true also, because 14/35 and 2/5 are equivalent. They're the same thing. They're the same amount. And so I can say that 14/35 is less than 15/35, or 2/5 is less than 3/7. So I can go back to the original and write the less than sign there. Again, the same thing here. 1/6 was my original fraction. 3/15 was my original fraction. So since 1/6 and 5/30 are equivalent, and 3/15 and 6/30 are equivalent, then I know that I can write the less than sign here also, because 1/6 is less than 3/15. All right? So this week, what I'm going to have you do, you're going to be doing some finding common multiples and creating equivalent fractions to the original. Okay, so like you'll have a 2/5 and a 3/7, and you'll have to tell a fraction that'll make it so that they are able to be compared. And then you're actually going to be doing some comparing of fractions and putting a greater than, less than, or equal to sign. All right, there's also some multiplication review that you're going to have to do for this week. So one thing I want to talk about with the multiplication before I sign off. I know that we have some new people coming in to our class that we're real excited about having. And so I want to reiterate how I want you to write your answers for the multiplication and why I have the boxes where I have them. So say we've got 328 times 4. Now you'll notice that I have a box like this and a box like this on your Google Classroom slides. Now there's a reason for that. The box up at the top is for people who would like to do the multiplication traditional way. Okay, and the traditional way is going ahead and multiplying 4 times 8, which gives me 32. And then 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 is 11. And then 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 is 13. All right? So the box up above is for the numbers that you need to carry up there. Now, the reason I have the box down below so big is some people don't like to do the traditional way. They like to do a way called partial product. And that's more of the way that you think in your head when you're doing your multiplication. And instead, they want to write out what they're thinking in their head. And so, you'll have some people, you'll see some people will, or I will see some people will do 4 times 8 and they'll write that down. 4 times 8. Or they could start here. Let me start with the hundreds. 300 times 4. 4 times 300. And remember, this number is actually 300 plus 20 plus 8. So that's where I'm getting my 300. Then I've got the 20 times 4, because everything's times 4. And then 8 times 4. All right, so we've got 300 times 4 is 1200. 20 times 4 is 80. And 8 times 4 is 32. So now we have to add that up. See, we have the adding part is up here for the traditional way. The adding is down here for the partial product way. So we've got 0 plus 0 plus 2, 8 plus 3, 1 plus 2, 1,000 plus no thousands. The answers are the same. It's just the way that they were working it out was a little different. Okay, now I forgot to put the box up here. You'll notice that if you do the partial product way, you don't need that box. That text box then will stay empty. Okay, so if you do traditional, you'll be writing numbers up here so that I can see that you understand what this whole process means. Okay, so if you do get the wrong answer, then I can give you some suggestions on what I see that you did incorrectly and how you can fix it. Okay, here the same way. I want to see what you're thinking. I can't see what you're thinking unless you type that in there. So if you would do that for me, I would greatly appreciate it. And I don't want the answer up here. I need the answer down in the box down below. Okay? All right. So if you have any questions about math this week, please email me and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Maybe we can set up a Google Meet on Wednesday if you need that. All right? So keep watching, keep thinking, always stay curious, and I'll see you next time.